Today we're going to talk about what's in my camera bag, but not only what's in it, also the methodologies that I used while I was building it out. This video isn't being sponsored by anyone, so everything that's in this bag is purely from user experience and trial and error. Usually my method of buying things is doing the research, trying to figure out which one fits my needs the best, and then I make the purchase, and I'm happy with everything in here. So hopefully this helps you take out some of the legwork. So to start off, I got this Caden bag from Amazon, which the only reason I picked it up is because it had a lot of good reviews and I liked the way that it was laid out inside. It has a zipper on the outside here, and this gives you a little spot for microfiber lens cleaners and SD cards. Like I said, I like to have 2 of everything, and I have a couple of different cameras, so I have an SD card as a backup for each one of those cameras, along with a micro SD card that I use for a backup for my drone or my Osmo Action or my Osmo Pocket. I picked up a 12-pack of these microfiber cloths because for some reason or another I lose them all the time. I actually picked this one up maybe 3 months ago and it came with 12, and now I think there's only 6 left. But the reason I like these ones particularly is because they're bigger and they last a lot longer. I don't know if it's just because they're a little bit thicker, but I haven't had any issues with them smearing the glass or scratching the glass or anything like that. Once they get a little bit older, or even if they go through the wash one time and they have some laundry detergent on them, they might leave smear on the lens, and then at that point you just throw it away. Then in the side pocket I have a lens cleaner. Don't ever put this inside the main camera bag in case it starts to leak. You don't want it to get on any of your electronics. I have a flathead screwdriver, which I use all the time. I need it in arm's distance, mainly to get Arca Swiss plates on and off my cameras and tripods. Then I have these pliers that I picked up from the dollar store, which are extremely useful and I recommend to anyone next time you're at the dollar store. And then a step-up filter for bigger ND filters on smaller lenses. Then on the other side, I have my ND filters, polarizers, and more step-up rings. If you don't know what any of that stuff is, I made a video all about exposure, going over step-up rings and ND filters and polarizers, and I'll leave that in the description so that you guys can take a look at it. So now for the good stuff. So I love the way that this thing is set up. It gives me little compartments so I can put different things in different areas. Like I have an area designated for my batteries and my audio, my second camera, my gimbals, and a second lens, and then also my main camera. And I'm just gonna go kind of from left to right. So the most important tool in this entire camera bag is this little air blower. I use this thing constantly. Whenever I go out into the field, I'll just put this in my pocket, and I'm amazed how much I actually use it trying to get dust off of the lens. You always want to try to use this first before you actually use a microfiber cloth on your lens, because there might be like a little piece of sand on the lens and you could inadvertently scratch your lens. So the way that I do it is first I try to get the dust or the dirt off with this. If that doesn't work, then I use the little brush, and if that doesn't work, then I'll have to put some of that lens cleaner on the microfiber cloth and then just clean my lens. But most of the time, and I'd say 95% of the time, this works, and this is what you want to use. You don't want to touch your lens if you don't have to. Next, I have a snack, because it's incredible how fast you forget about your appetite when you're in that creative mindset, and then all of a sudden it just hits you and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go eat. But this will hold you over till dinner time. I have a little gimbal. This can be used for smartphones or action cameras or the ZV-1. I primarily use it for the ZV-1. I have my shotgun microphone that I put on top of my cameras in case I'm doing like an interview or I just want to get some ambient noise or some good sound effects. The shotgun microphone will always produce better sound than the native microphones that are inside the camera. Normally I'll keep my main A camera here, but right now I'm recording this video with this. I have a bunch of these little Velcro belts that I have stuck to the side of my camera bag because it's incredible the amount of times that I have wires flying everywhere, and I just want to kind of consolidate them or tie them to the pole so they're not like hanging or dangling or becoming a trip hazard. I also run through these like I do with my microfiber cloths. I'll stack a bunch of these inside my camera bag, but within like a month, they're all gone and I have to restack them. So every time I go to repack my bag, I just make sure that this is one of the things that's in there. I have this little camera light that Ulanzi sent to me about 6 months ago. Even though cameras nowadays are really good in low light, it's always better to bring an external light source so that you don't have to crank up the ISO. But ever since they sent this to me, I find that I use it a lot, especially when I'm indoors. This is my lavalier setup, where basically it's a radio transmitter lavalier. So this is the receiver. You put this on top of the camera, and then you plug this little red wire from the receiver into the mic input of the camera, whether it's the ZV-1 or A7 III or whatever camera you have. So this is the transmitter. So you hook up the lavalier wire to it. By the way, I have two different lavalier wires. One is made for a female and one is made for a male. I didn't know this before I started using these, but girls' shirts are different than boys' shirts. So we had to set up two different wires so that we could quickly put it on a girl's blouse or a boy's. So this lav hooks up to the transmitter. So you just put it on the transmitter and clip this to the subject's belt, and then you have really good clean sound. On top of that, I'll also use the shotgun mic so that I have two sources of audio in case one fails. I've had this radio transmitter give me like a hum because we were in an electronic filled area one time, and I was so happy that I had my shotgun mic on top of my camera as a backup audio. I've also had the battery that's in this fail, and I was happy that I had a lav attached to my subject so that the audio was clean and we didn't get home and then have to call the person and tell them, I'm really sorry, but I have to come back. That's the worst. As far as the audio goes, it's not the cleanest in the world, but it works. And as long as you do a little bit of EQ in post, then you're golden. I'm actually using it right now so that you guys can hear what it sounds like. There's a couple lens covers that I use for my Tamron on my A7S III. Of course, we have the ZV-1. Always make sure that the SD card is empty and that the batteries are full. I have my wide angle lens that goes with my ZV-1 in case I'm out in the field and I want to be creative and get some nice landscape shots. It also has a macro lens in case I want to get some close-ups. So I have a lot of options while I'm out in the field shooting with the ZV-1. I have those little stickers in case the step-up ring that's on the ZV-1 falls off. And then I have my little battery compartment here. The way that I have this figured out is that I leave all of my ZV-1 batteries that are full inside of these little plastic cases, and then once the battery runs out, I'll just throw it somewhere else in the camera bag, knowing that when I get home, I'll have to recharge it. But that all changed when I started picking up more batteries for the ZV-1, and now I don't have enough plastic cases. So the way that my system works is as soon as my battery runs out on my ZV-1, I just throw it in this side over here, so that when I get home, I know to throw it right on the charger. I have an extra battery for my A7S III, and then a bunch of tools that I've picked up along the way, and I don't really know where to put them, so I just throw them in my camera bag. I actually end up using them all the time. You never know what you might need them for, whether it's your gimbal or putting a cage on or whatever you might need it for. And then I have a quick lens cover that I can just throw on my lens without having to fumble with the lens cover in my pocket. And then also a wide angle lens for the A7S III. And even though I said that this was the most important, I'm gonna change that because I think these are the most important, Band-Aids. You never wanna get cut while you're out there and just be bleeding while you're trying to get a certain shot that you wanna get. So I always have Band-Aids out there. You might see me with a Band-Aid on here and again, maybe it's just because I'm clumsy, but I always have those in my camera bag because I feel like it's so important. Now, if I have a little bit more time when I'm running out the door, I'll bring this gear bag, which is just basically a gear bag with a bunch of different little compartments. So I'll keep like all of my wires, things that you might not think about, like phone chargers and USB chargers, an extra screwdriver with extra different types of tools on it. And then also I have like zip ties and Velcro and just all types of things because you never know what you're gonna need when you're out there. Believe it or not, I always keep it in here. I barely use it, but when I do need it, I'm like, thank goodness I put it in here. So here's some extra batteries, all of my wires for like my monitors and HDMI cameras, more pliers. I try to keep pliers in every single bag that I have. External batteries, this is great for charging things like the gimbal or the ZV-1 when I'm out in the field and I don't have an electrical outlet to plug into. So I consider this bigger bag for like electronics, wires, and batteries. And then this smaller bag for things like clamps, magic arms, Arca Swiss plates, ball heads, gimbal mounts, small rig U-joints. I mean, just kind of everything that you would use in an interview setting. There's been times where all of these bags are completely emptied out and I'm thinking in my head when I get home, I have to order more of those. Especially with these little Arca Swiss plates. I always keep on buying these and I keep on buying more and more. I use them on the end of my gimbal, on the end of my tripods, on the end of my light tripods. I mean, I just use them all the time. I highly recommend if you don't take anything away from this video, just pick up one or two of these and you're gonna see how much of a difference it makes in your life. For example, if I was to put this Arca Swiss plate on my ZV-1, I can put this ZV-1 on a tripod that has the female end of this Arca Swiss plate or a gimbal and then be able to quickly take it off and still be able to access the battery and the SD card. So pretty important. Or you could quickly attach it to your gimbal, and if you just pre-balance it while you're at home, you don't have to worry about balancing it out in the field. And then I also have my fun stuff, which is like my drone and my action camera, but usually that's predetermined if I'm gonna take that or not, so I'll just throw that into my car as I go. So that's everything. I hope this helped you out. If you guys set yourselves up like this, you'll be able to just run out the door at any given time, and you're never gonna fall into one of those situations where you're like, oh, I don't have that particular piece of gear. Believe me, that's happened to all of us, and I'm just trying to prevent that from happening to you less. I'm Joe with Film Alliance, and until the next video,